Thank you, everybody, so much for joining in today to see our seminar here on the Salto KS product. If this isn't your first seminar, if you've joined with us before, I appreciate you joining with us today. You know, it's very flattering that you're taking time out of your day. Hopefully that means you're seeing value in these different topics and products that we're highlighting for these, some of the different use cases that we're running through, and that you've come back to see additional topics, so thank you. And for folks where maybe this is your first one joining in, the first seminar of ours that you've had a chance to take part in, well, thank you again for joining in on this one, and I think you picked a fantastic one. You know, we try to highlight, you know, relevant new use cases for technologies, and I think this is really just an exemplary topic within, you know, that kind of focus. Talking about the Salto KS product. So a cloud-controlled, mobilely managed smart lock solution that can fit all sorts of different types of businesses and buildings. So we're going to highlight a chance to, you know, go through how that solution works, show off some of the different items that make up the products, you know, the different locks you'd be interacting with. And my counterpart, Daryl, is going to be joining us on the call today and also walking us through a walkthrough of what the user experience is like within the Salto KS product. And then if you can stay late, if you can stay past 10 o'clock at that point, we're going to open it up for a Q&A session. If you have any questions, we've got a number of folks from the Salto team who've joined onto the call today to be able to assist Daryl and myself in answering your questions as well. So thank you again. And thank you to the IMI team. Shout out to the IMI team. You probably know the IMI folks from the people who reached out to you to get you onto the call today. So big thank you to my IMI fellows for reaching out and getting everybody engaged on the call today to get this in front of you. So thank you. All right, well, to kick us off, I wanted to give you a little bit of history of Salto. Salto really is a pioneering company when it comes to smart locks and locking products. And they've got a bunch of different other types of solutions available to you beyond just the KS that we're going to be talking about today. More traditional, you know, online, real-time controlled, on-premise access control systems featuring hardwired and wireless product, standalone systems, obviously the cloud-controlled system that we're going to be talking about today, and being able to interact with each of those systems with mobile access keys. That's a really big one as well. That's becoming more and more a part of our everyday customer interactions and questions, especially as maybe some cards can be a little bit hard to track down sometimes. And Salto is no new entrant to the lock manufacturing market either. More than 18 years of manufacturing experience in the locking industry, more than 4.5 million locks installed worldwide. We've got more than 20 million people interacting with Salto equipment every single day. And we've got more than 30 offices globally to support that global business. Our local office here is actually right here on the Eastern Seaboard down in Atlanta. Being February up here in Massachusetts, it'd be a nice time to actually go down and visit that office if we could. And Salto KS actually has its roots going back about a decade now. So originally the Salto Clay product was a partnership with a team that loved our locking experience and our unique and, you know, pushing boundaries of the technology that we were doing with the physical hardware, wanted to bring that solution to a cloud-based offering. So they came up with the Clay solution partnering with Salto locks, and it's evolved so much. They've added so many features over the years. We loved it so much. Salto made it a part of the family. We rebranded it as Salto KS back in 2017. And it's had so many feature enhancements and new things added over that decade. If you'd seen previously those earlier versions of Salto Clay or Salto KS, you're going to see, you know, some great new features when Daryl highlights that in just a little bit. So I want to take just a brief moment and highlight how exactly the Salto KS pieces connect together. So to start off with, we have our web and mobile interface. That's really how the average customer is going to interact with our product from a programming perspective, from a management perspective. That's all being done for the most part via mobile app, sometimes through web browser, depending on what type of PC or you know, handheld device you happen to have handy to you. And all of that information, all that programming ultimately is being relayed through our cloud. And that's talking to the on-site equipment through a device we call the IQ. It's the brains of the operation, on-site interacting with our hardware, with our locks. So there's a few different ways that this is going to interact. It's going to wirelessly interact with the locks themselves, and then the IQ can connect to the internet via Wi-Fi, via a hardline connection, and we can actually give it PoE. We can also give it a cellular connection too, which is really nice if you have an area that doesn't reach those existing networks, or maybe it's a remote place, maybe it's a job site or a work environment that just doesn't have a full network, a full internet connection set up. Having that cellular capability lets you do some really unique applications. And then, of course, that's going to talk to the lock devices themselves. And I'm going to go through those with you in just a moment. A whole lot of different form factors, styles, and aesthetics available to you with that. And we're going to interact with them a few different ways. So I'll be going through that with you as well before you see it in action from Daryl. So the first one I wanted to highlight from a hardware perspective is our XS4 Mini ANSI. This is a great, probably our most popular model because it goes in a lot of places. It's an interior lock for cylindrical doors, really, really common here. Just about everywhere you're going to run into that scenario. So it's a very low cost option. It installs incredibly quickly. It installs in minutes at that point. And it's got a whole lot of different options for you, from different styles in terms of matte, glossy, brass, black. We have white or black options for the reader head. You have different options for your handles as well that you see on here. Usually we're quoting the N handle. That's got the ADA approval here in the States as well. And you see very small profile. This thing's powered by AAA batteries. It's not some specialty battery pack or some big bulky pack that we're putting on the secure side of the door. It's a very small, very pleasing type of install, and no secret that it's become a really popular product for us. Complementing that is a very, very versatile product for us, the XS4 Original Plus. We can adapt this to just about any type of door that there is. So you see, again, a lot of different finishes. We have different handle styles, white or black reed heads at that point. We can adapt this to cylindrical or mortise style doors. So covering a lot of opportunities with special add-ons available too, like key override, privacy buttons, throws for a deadbolt, things like that, all available on here. And just to shout out one of the newer options that's proved to be really popular, our dark antique, our dark bronze finish there looks really nice on light colored doors. That's been really, really popular option. And just to highlight that, a lot of these smart lock technologies that are out there, you're really shoehorned into just a couple options. Hey, we've got this version or this version. We've got it in white or black or stainless, which is going to be the one that you wanted. We've got so many different configuration options to really complement, the investment that you're making in the look of these spaces already. Now, we couldn't talk about that device without talking about exit devices. Any type of commercial or residential space, we're going to be dealing with panic bars or crash bars. So we need to have a version of this technology that can adapt for that. So that XS4 Original Plus, we have a version that's adapted for exit devices that can talk to many of the most common models on the market. We have our own Salto panic bar that we can supply for new installs, but we also can work with a number of the most common Von Duprin, Sargent, Hager, Kaba, Falcon, and more that are out there. So we have a whole chart that we can look up, our applications team at IMI, or working with the team at Salto to qualify the different panic devices you're going to run into when you're out working in these types of spaces, managing these spaces. Another new addition too is our dead latch option, which is really nice for those types of storefronts, offices, conference rooms, anywhere where you have that glass door with the thin metal kind of strip around it. That takes a real specialty kind of lock. I do not see a lot of those covered by smart locks. They're usually hardwired at that point with additional expense and things like that we can now wirelessly control, cloud control with our dead latch option. All right, and another really, really cool option in the line for us here is our Neo cylinder, because again, very, very flexible, very, very cost effective to deploy as well. So it lets us convert spaces to cloud controlled spaces that normally you wouldn't think of, either because of the expense of doing something like that, or just because a lot of folks don't make this type of form factor. We have like a mortise style cylinder. So if you have a door that's normally controlled by a key mortise cylinder, we can take that out, put in one of these Neo cylinders, and I've just converted that door into a cloud controlled smart lock door at that point. And it goes beyond doors. I mean, yes, we've got deadbolts on there. We have things like padlocks. So maybe you've got secure storage in your retail space that I want to have an audit trail and control which employees can get into that cage to get to my expensive merchandise, things like that. These are all things that we can take care of with a Salto KS solution. Rack space is another one. The little cam cylinder. I think of a lot of places now I'm seeing they're getting urgent care facilities, so we can get that care closer to the individual communities. You've got a lot of places like medicine cabinets, or maybe it's secure file storage, important customer documents that you want to have an audit trail and control who can get access to that. We can do that with our Neo cylinder and adapt this to so many different types of installs. And then, of course, we get to interact with this a few different ways. The most popular I want to get out right up front. We have a mobile key that you can use in this solution. So great way to interact with it because there's no physical credential I need to send this person. They get an email, they download the app, the email loads their credential into the application, and now they've got a key to get through any of our Salto KS doors. Great for visitors, great just for maybe that employee that's a little forgetful and you think might lose that card. You know, those costs add up over time. I can very easily replace a mobile key just by reissuing it. I can, of course, unlock that door remotely. I've got someone waiting for me at my office. I'm running a few minutes late. I want to let them into the conference room so they can get set up. Well, I can go through the same app, if I have the permission to, release that door for folks. But it doesn't have to be a digital credential. If you prefer that more traditional physical credential, we have cards, we have tags or fobs that are going to interact with this system as well. You can issue both, one or the other, whatever that mix is going to be appropriate for you. And if you do have spaces where you want to issue a PIN, we do have certain locks that access for original that you see. We have the ability to get one with a keypad. So you can have keypad spaces for maybe that conference room or something like that as well, a common area space perhaps. So let me give you a little bit of a tour of some of the pieces that go into the solution. Now I'm going to ask Daryl to join us on here, and he's going to give us a little bit of a tour of the solution itself, what it's like to work with it, operate it, interact with it. And through that time, if you got any questions, I'll take a look at the chat here and keep that going as well. Daryl is on our solutions team, so he's a solutions architect. That's a group internal to IMI where normally we're putting solutions together. We're working with customers to find out, kind of almost like a consultant, what are you looking for a solution to do? And we look at the parts and pieces from Salto KS along with the other brands that we work with to see how that's going to execute. Daryl, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you sharing a little bit of your knowledge.
Great. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Yeah, awesome. So I'm so excited about the Salto KS. I can't tell you how versatile this product is and how easy it is to use. You know, just a couple of days ago, you know, I started setting up my demo system, and it really only took me a few minutes to get to understand how the system works and get everything connected and working correctly, set up notifications. We got some great stuff with push notifications. So we've seen some issues in the past with other systems not being able to give you a push notification. You get email notifications, but by the time you find out, you know, that something's happened on site, it's usually too late. So you want that push notification to really kind of pop, you know, on your phone, which you always have in your hand. So this is something that's going to be really great. And I'm going to show you here. Let me share my screen. David, can you just confirm that you can see my screen here?
Yeah, you're looking good, Daryl. I can even see your phone screen. I've got a feeling that's going to come up for some reason.
Absolutely. So the first thing I want to show you guys, David talked about using a digital key. So within the digital key, we have the ability to set up a widget, you know, within your phone. So just a quick one click, use a digital key. We have a notification, key's active. We just tap the reader, key is received. And let me just switch my camera here so you can follow. So as you can see here, this is my lock. We'll do it again. Lock's found, keys received, and the door is unlocked. That's one way to unlock our door. Another way is to go into the KS app. So within the KS app, you can see we also have a digital key. I can open up the lock itself. It's going to give me some information about the lock. Whether it's online, battery status. We could go into a history of the lock. So now you can find, you know, who's been in the door, who's not been in the door, if you have an employee, if they were supposed to show up on time, rejected tags. So you have the ability to block tags from the system, and then you can quick and easily from your mobile app see, you know, which block tags have been accessing your system. Another thing I want to show you real quick is our hardware. So this is our IQ. So the IQ has multiple options of connections. We have the ability to connect through an Ethernet port, PoE, and also through cellular. So this device has cellular and Ethernet currently. Say you lose your Ethernet connection for any reason, network's down, we're going to back up to our cellular stick. So now we have cellular backup. So maintenance, uptime is great. Push firmware updates from the server. So your system is always going to be up to date with the push updates that are automatically going to be sent to your IQ. A couple other great features here. So within the mobile app, so we have the ability to open remotely. So if you're not on site, you have a customer calling in from, or I'm sorry, say you have a delivery on site, you're going to let them into the building, or a dog walker. Some of our biggest customers are going to be real estate, rental and leasing spaces, shared spaces, retail chain stores. So you can imagine the different types of people that might need access to your building. So we can do a remote opening from anywhere in the world. The door unlocks and the person just gained an entry into the space. On the right here, you can see we have our web app. So this is the web logged into my system. Every time I have a opening, it's logging that entry. As you can see, we can also see the events from our mobile app. So here's the same events coming in. We also have the push notifications, which I mentioned earlier. So now when I badge in, I'm going to get a notification that we had and sometimes it's delayed slightly, but I promise you it will come in. And here we go. So a couple other quick things we can do is add users on the fly. So you're moving around doing things, you're busy. A couple quick things we can do is add or invite users to the system. So from here, we can create a user. What this is going to do is send an email to the recipient. Once that person receives the email, they'll be prompted to download the KS app and create a user account. So that user now has access to the system without ever having to use a credential. So the credentials could be used the same way as your mobile app. Another way to access your system is through the web browser. So you can also set an unlock from the web app as well. So you can select your app. We can go to the mini demo. We can do open now. And now what it's asking me here is really a two-form authentication. So say you left your laptop open on your desk. Somebody can't just come in here and hit open now on your door. What it's going to require is you to open up your mobile app at this point, go down to your IQ. So we'll generate a code from our IQ, select the IQ, generate code. And now this is going to be our two-form authentication. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with that. It's become very popular lately, especially with bank transactions. So this is really upping the security of your system to basically a banking system security level. So we'll submit here. Now it's going to generate that unlock request. And I don't know if you heard that or not, but now it just unlocked our mini. Close that. And once you're utilizing your mobile app, you've already either used a thumbprint. Hopefully you have some sort of security set up on your phone. So we can go in to unlock that door manually from here as well, remotely. So instead of having to generate the code, now it's asking for a Touch ID just to confirm. And we just unlock the door again. All right, great. So going back to the mobile app. So as you can see, as the events are coming into the system, we also have a few other options in our dashboard here. So real quick, we have the ability to set an office mode on the Mini. What that does is it unlocks the door for retail locations, for a set time. You can do it on a schedule, or you can do it manually. We've seen this go into a lot of churches. So if the church has a specific event going on, which isn't during their normal time, very easily anybody can go set that door to unlock from their house through an office mode. And then once that event's over, they would set that office mode off into the off mode and return to normal operations. A couple other things. So when you first receive your system or turn it over to your customer, they're going to have credentials. So we would go in here into our site tab, we'll go down to tags, and then we're going to enroll the tags into the system. So let's go ahead and add a tag. So the way to do this is we're going to select a lock. Once we select the lock, it's going to change the mode of the lock to accept tags. So right now it's going to be registering these tags into the system. Once I show the tag to the reader, as you can see, we have one registered tag. We're going to stop that process and we're going to tell the system that we're done entering tags into the system. Now that tag is available to issue to our users. Next step would be to go to our people tab. So now we have certain people in here. Let's find a person that doesn't have a tag assigned. So we have our cleaning crew. They're going to be on site today. So we'll just go into their account. We're going to assign a tag. And now, as you can see here, assigning a tag is very easy. So now we just have our enrolled tags. We're going to select the tag, save it. And now that person has that tag assigned, which they could use at any of our sites globally. All right. Next thing that I wanted to go over real quick is the we have this system called pods. What is a pod? So a pod is the ability to not have, well, it gives you your tenants the right to give access to whoever they like. So if they have a dog walker, say they have a cleaner, they may have other businesses going on within a one retail space. So within your property management companies, they're going to have multiple tenants, and they're not going to want to have to micromanage each one of those tenants. So what they could do is issue a pod to these people. So if we go into the pods, you can see here, so we have IMI retail space, one member. Right now they have one lock, so that would be the front door of their space. They have 0 guests assigned, and we could set a limit on the guest as well. So when we're looking at our subscriptions, the subscriptions are based on how many members or how many users are within the system. So there might be a limitation on how many tags they can issue without having to bump up that subscription to a higher level. So we go within the retail space, and as you can see here, so this is a pod member, active or right now they have access to their location, or we can block that user. So once we add new members, we're going to assign the cleaning crew. And save. Now we have 2 members within that pod. Now what we did was we actually just gave the cleaning crew the ability to invite guests as well. So now that person, say they have additional staff members that they want to give access to, they can give access to that space. So going into our mobile app, I'll show you how that works from that user. So I'm just going to go into here. I'm going to log off real quick. And we're going to log in as our secondary user. As you can see here, when you're first logging in, it gives you a nice some tips of how to use the system. So we can go into inviting a guest. Next. Shows you how to use the locks, how to unlock a specific lock. And done. So now we're in. So now within here, we're going to go into our users. And as you can see, we're not giving access to the entire site, but we can invite guests now to our specific pod. So now if we want to invite a guest, all we're doing is setting a name, setting an email, and then to which pod. So right now they only have one pod available, and we're going to give them full access, or we can give them limited access. We're going to invite that person into our pod. Now I just got a notification that email address is already tied to somebody in the system. So there we go. Now we got a successful invite. And let me just refresh my screen over here as the admin. Now you can see we got one guest. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, that is bringing us up to 10 o'clock. Let me pass that over to David. And thank you for your time, everybody.
Daryl, one more quick thing. Could you go to the notifications tab on there? I know Preston's helping us with some of the questions in the chat, but somebody did ask about notifications. They're super easy to set up. If you go to the incidents page, that's going to let you just select, well, what types of alerts you want to set up. Do you want an app push notification? Do you want an email? You check off which alerts at which doors. I just love how easy that is. And you can set up custom alerts if you want notifications for card admits or card rejections as well. You pick, what you want at which doors. That's in the entry section there. So I just wanted to quickly show that, just because I think that's a real popular part of the system and a real handy part, how easy that is. Compare that to an on-premise system where you have to set up with an email account, probably ports involved. If your internet's down at the site, you might not be getting some of these notifications. Having it cloud-based really makes that process really easy as well.
Great point, David.
All right, thank you so much, Daryl. I really appreciate it. So hopefully seeing that, thinking about how we can apply some of those different features, maybe shows why we've become so popular in a number of different verticals. When you have shared spaces, Daryl was great about talking about that pods feature, where maybe I've got a tenant, whether it's apartment, whether it's a condominium, they're going to have certain folks that they want to give access to their apartment to or their condo to. Maybe it's a parent, for emergency access to check on things when they're away. Maybe it's a dog walker or a cleaner. I can let them have some delegation to issue a couple guest credentials, mobile keys even, that I don't need to worry about making all this stuff, giving all this stuff out myself. It can be great for multi-tenant businesses too. Maybe I've got the office on the second floor that wants to be able to manage their employee fobs themselves or their employee mobile credentials. I can make their office a pod and give them the ability to manage their individual employee credentials, but only giving them the rights to do that to get to their space. So really great for whether it's residential or multi-tenant business properties for shared spaces. Similarly, we can schedule those credentials, so it becomes really handy for rental properties. We do a lot of boutique hotels, Airbnbs, and folks like that need to manage multiple locations. Doing it from their pocket's going to be convenient. You need to be able to schedule some of those items as well. So it's great for them to be able to schedule keys, do that all from their pocket at that point with minimal experience needed on their part, and just makes for a better guest experience for them as well. For retailers, being able to manage multiple locations, excuse me, quickly and easily, being able to maybe delegate authority to a local manager to have some of that control as well. for remote openings and things like that. And even just standard offices, that low maintenance. One of the questions that came up in the chat that got answered, battery life can range on our devices. Even just the little Neo knob that you saw has 4 little LD1 batteries in there, and that's going to power that thing for up to 130,000 uses. That's presenting a credential, turning the device. And our locks usually range anywhere from the 35,000 range and up at that point, all with off-the-shelf batteries. You don't need to order any specialties or large battery packs from us, and they just last a really long time, and the system's really good about giving you those notifications with plenty of time left to get those swapped out. We're usually notifying you as soon as we're down to like 20% on the battery, so you got a lot of, thousands of cycles to be able to change that out without any issue. Also did want to point out too, Preston mentioned, I didn't specifically say it with the XS4 original, is an outdoor version of that lock, because you can see we're doing things like storefronts, business fronts, and things like that. And all this boils down to why we're chosen by industry leaders in all these different spaces. Folks you've probably heard of, some combination of these, Impact Hub, GSA, TQ, all on the Salto KS platform. We've got folks that have taken advantage of the Salto KS platform, brought it into their experiences. I mentioned that there's the ability to take advantage of that. So international workplace groups, Spaces, Regis, actually integrate our mobile keys and room assignments into their apps and their systems to streamline everything for themselves and for their clients and customers. So there's absolutely ability, for the right customer to take advantage of this with integrations as well. So we have a KS Connect program where we can bring in Eagle Eye and Comlet video feeds into the Salto KS app, and a number of other integrations beyond just a handful that I mentioned, bringing our KS capabilities into their experience. You can even private label it too if you wanted to have, rather than the Salto KS app that your employees are downloading, a version that's skinned just for you with your logos, your branding, your color scheme, but all the power and effects of Salto KS. Our team can work with you on that and private label a version, support that with you guys as well. All right, thank you guys so much for letting me go a few minutes over here. I do want to get to the Q&A for the folks that can hang on with us as well. I'm going to try to answer as much as I can from the chats, which there are a number of folks coming in through on the chat line as well. So I'm going to start taking some of these. You also have the ability to unmute yourself now as well. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask your questions out loud, happy to answer them as well. So let me take a look here. We've had a few come in. So as Preston mentioned, and there's a question just came in on the chat, we do indeed have outdoor versions of these locks. The XS4 Original Plus has an indoor and outdoor version. The outdoor rated version, obviously very common for the entrances to those spaces. We really have to have that as an outdoor version for those storefront doors with the dead latch tile as well. So indoor and outdoor versions of these different locks. Same with that little Neo knob as well, indoor and outdoor versions of that. So you can use that padlock outdoors to secure a space as well. We have actually a number of folks that use that with a cellular IQ at remote job sites, storage locations, and things like that. You've got a padlock with a real-time audit trail that takes mobile credentials, a real professional solution at that point.
Hey, David, Ron Wilson has a question. Is product sold direct or through distribution?
So if you are already a Salto dealer, you may have access to this product direct, but we actually go through distribution as well. ADI, Anixter Wesco are two big partners of ours that resell this solution. There is training involved because we want you to feel comfortable and confident in connecting devices to the cloud, setting up accounts, physically installing the locks themselves. So with just some training that you go through, it's available through distributors that you're already working with, I'm sure. So we can help you with the particulars of that for anybody, any folks on the line who have questions about that process and want to learn more about that or even start that process, by all means. That's one where we're going to get your local IMI rep involved to help walk through and make sure that that process is nice and smooth and quick for you as well.
All right, and Mitchell Ferreira has a question. Does it integrate with client management shared space software, Yardi Cube?
I'm not familiar specifically with Yardi Cube, but we do have a number of integrations in that space. So what I can do is I can follow up with the Salto team, particularly on that one. I apologize, I'm not familiar with that brand specifically. but we do have a number of others. I'll actually go back to that integration slide. I don't even think this actually has all of them. This was just a bunch of brands that we wanted to cobble together to show that, you know, a bunch of them. But actually a number of these spaces actually are building management. So you see like Res Harmonics on there, Liable Bayo as well, Office RD. So a lot of these are space management solutions that are taking advantage of our lock management to bring that portfolio, that feature set into, you know, different softwares that maybe take a different look on building management beyond just, you know, physical access to those spaces. Can we send out a link to the presentation? Absolutely. So for everybody who registered, I should have your email. That's part of the reason we capture that, is I want to follow up with you guys with a link to this presentation. It's going to be hosted on YouTube for you. It takes me about a week to chop things up and edit this to get it up into that space. So then I'll have a follow-up email with a link to that for everybody, and probably some information about our next seminar that we're going to be doing as well. Oh, John Wright, thank you so much for joining in and recognizing the brand there. So we do have a working integration with Yardi Cube. So definitely want to follow up with you, Oswald. Oh, sorry. Who had asked that question? Oh, we got so many questions in the chat now, I've lost that. But we definitely want to follow up with you. So, Mitchell, if you can follow up with us, we'll get you in touch with your local IMI rep if you don't already work with that gentleman, and we'll get you connected in for that and get you some more specific information. Excellent. I'm going through. Daryl, are you seeing any other questions in the chat that maybe I missed over? Oh, here's one. The locks. Oh, in terms of the notifications. Hopefully you guys saw that when we were looking at that with Daryl. So notifications for, you know, intrusion, tamper, doors that are left ajar. If you're going to hook that up with the door switch, we have switches available for door position to be able to pass that information back up to the cloud as well.